A very warm welcome to everyone. So thank you for joining the virtual open house for the School of Chemistry, Chemical Engineering and Biotechnology, CCEB, for the course of Bioengineering, BIE, as well as Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, CBE. So our event will begin shortly. So meanwhile, you can scan the QR code to join our CCEB Linktree and to find out more on our future event. Please be reminded that this session will be recorded. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So once again, thank you for coming to the Virtual Open House 2022 for the School of Chemistry, Chemical Engineering and Biotechnology. So our event will begin now. So I'm Li Xing, a Year 2 CBE student, and together with me, Nicole.
Hi, my name is Nicole, a Year 3 Bioengineering student.
And Xing Ni.
Hi everyone, I'm Xing Ni, a Bioengineering student in Year 3.
So we will be your host for today. So this is the overview of the program for today. So shortly after this, we will have our professor sharing, student live sharing, followed by alumni and Q&A sections in the breakout room with our student ambassador. So let me first introduce our Professor Raymond Lau. So he'll be sharing on the BIE, CBE, and also second major in data analytic programs offered in our school. So Prof. Raymond, please.
Okay, thank you. So let me spend some time to do the screen sharing. Just a moment. Okay, so welcome everyone. So for today's sharing, what I'm going to talk about is mainly on the two programs that is belonging to the College of Engineering. So I guess you have heard in the news that the previous SCBE, School of Chemical and Biomedical Engineering, it is merging with the Division of Chemistry and Biochemistry to form a new school, which is the CCEB, School of Chemistry, Chemical Engineering, and Biotechnology. So you probably would have a lot of questions on what is this new school about, whether there are any differences in the programs that we offer. So hopefully with this sharing, I'll be able to answer some of these problems that you have in mind. Okay, so let me... Yep. So just as I mentioned earlier, so previously with the School of Chemical and Biomedical Engineering, we have two engineering programs, the Bioengineering and Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, BIE and CBE. And the Division of Chemistry and Biological Chemistry, previously they were belonging to the School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences. And one of the I guess commonly asked questions that we have in the past would be, what is the difference between chemistry and chemical engineering? So I think in a common sense, sometimes it would be quite difficult to differentiate what is the difference. And so that means other than the name and the content itself, we do see a lot of synergy in terms of the name and as well as what we learn in the curriculum. So therefore, the university decided to combine these three programs and form a new school. So this new school would be belonging to both College of Science as well as the College of Engineering. And so there is no change in the individual programs. So we would still have independent program, but yet we would be all housing in the same school. So what would be the main difference between a science subject in chemistry versus chemical engineering or bioengineering? So you can think of it as science is what we learn about why certain things happened, but engineering would be translating these knowledge into a practical use. So both knowledge would be important because typically scientists are the ones who developed the process, the materials, the new findings. But engineers would be the ones who translate this into the new world. So in that case, once we are having all three programs in the same school, the courses would be shared so that we can benefit both the educations and as well as the research, because we also have to advance the knowledge that we have learned in the development of our research fields. So it would be beneficial in that as well. And also because now we have engineering working with scientists together. So a lot of the new innovations that are developed by the scientists, we can quickly translate it into something that can be applicable in real life. So we do see a lot of great opportunities in terms of learning, in terms of collaboration. And that is the main reason behind forming this new school. So as I mentioned, since we are going to share mainly on the engineering portion for this talk. So I will be focusing mainly on bioengineering as well as the chemical and biomolecular engineering. And since we do talk about engineering, so most engineers actually by the time they graduate, they will be working in the industry. So we can't really differentiate things that you learn in school versus how you practice them in the industry. So our curriculum essentially would be developed based on the industry-centric curriculum. So we do have a lot of industry involvement, not only in the attachments where you'll be working in a company to practice what you have learned in school, but also we have a lot of industry speakers to give you some insights on the industry developments. We also have industries that talk about the career path that you can have in that particular field. We even have case studies where you can practice solving real-life industry problems. And education, of course, it's more than just coursework. It also depends on who you learn the knowledge from. Because if you are simply just learning the textbook knowledge, I mean, there are so many online courses that you can take. But at the same time, when we have top-notch professors, you can talk to them and you can be inspired by them as well. So this would be one thing that we would want to emphasize. So you're not just learning the knowledge, but you're also inspired to develop a better self. And I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of industry speakers. So they would come in various stages in your study. So starting from year 1 all the way to year 4, we have industry speakers to come in. Some of them would be teaching the entire course, but some of them, they would be giving a guest lecture for an hour or 2 in one of the existing courses so that you can find the relevance in what you have learned. And I'm not sure you have learned about this ICC curriculum, which is the Interdisciplinary Collaborative Core. So this is something that NTU developed last year. So what this curriculum is emphasizing on is when we talk to industry, most of them actually do not really focus too much on the technical knowledge because they would assume that when you graduate from the degree program, you would have gained the necessary technical skills. So a lot of time, if you ask the HR people, what are they looking at? So they would talk a lot on how you develop yourself, how do you solve problems? So a lot would be in the soft skills side. So in this case, NTU realized this. So they would be developing this interdisciplinary collaborative core courses, which in these courses, you'll be taking with students from other disciplines. You're not just taking the course from the same CBE classmates or BIE classmates, but at the same time, you'll be taking it with humanities students, taking it with business students, so that you learn to speak in each other's language. So you're not just giving them many technical jargons that they may not understand. So as you are progressing in this manner, so you learn to express yourself in a better way. You also learn to work with different group of people. So in this ways, that would actually simulate more of a actual work life, because you don't really work within your team. A lot of time you have to collaborate with people from other teams. And another change that is new is this broadening and deepening electives. So previously we have differentiated this into free electives as well as the major electives. But we see that not all students want to have a very narrow knowledge, but some of them may want to have the flexibility to broaden the various type of knowledge as well as interest. So in this case, for the new ICC curriculum, so we're combining this free electives together with the major electives. So we call it BDE, so that you can freely swap between the two type of courses that you wanted to take. And of course, this BDE options would also be the channels for you to pursue a minor degree. Okay, and I mentioned about the professional internships. So students would be attached to company in year 3, semester 2. So after you have learned your major courses for 3 years, then you will have a chance to practice. And in NTU, we actually have, I would say, more than 100 industry partners where our students would be attached to. So we have a career and attachment office that helps you to coordinate with the interviewing process, with the listings of the positions where you can apply. So it would be quite simple to go through. But of course, if you have a particular interest in a particular company and you wanted to source for these positions on your own, you can also do that as well. So as long as the position that you're applying for would help you to progress and gain knowledge in your particular field, it would be all right. So one of the key questions at this point is, how do you select the different programs and what are the different options that would be available? So I mentioned we are mainly talking about the bioengineering program as well as the chemical and biomolecular engineering program. But these options actually would also be available for chemistry and biological chemistry as well. So broadly speaking, we can differentiate our program in 4 different categories. So one of it would be the single degree program, which I would say a majority of you would be applying for. So single degree means you will pick which degree program you wanted to pursue: bioengineering, chemical and biomolecular engineering, or chemistry and biological chemistry. But then if, let's say, you have a specific interest in a separate field, and depending on how much interest and how much effort you wanted to put in. So if you want to put in more efforts, but you don't want to delay your graduation, you can choose a second major program. So second major program, it's also a 4-year program, similar to single degree. The difference is that you will need to take an additional 5 to 6 courses, more than a single degree, but you can separate it out in your 4 years of study. So on average, you'll be taking about 1 to 2 more courses per semester compared to a single degree program, but you'll still be able to complete within 4 years. The double degree program, it is a 5-year program. So double degree for bioengineering and chemical and biomolecular engineering would be combining with economics. So in this case, when you are pursuing a double degree program, you will get 2 certificates by the time you graduate. You'll get 1 certificate of the engineering degree, and you have another certificate for the economics degree. So it does take 1 more year to complete. The Premier Scholar program, it's a separate program compared to the BIE or CBE. So we have a number of Premier Scholars program. So one of it is called the CN Young Scholars Program. So CN Young Scholar, it's focusing more on science. So you will be starting from scientific studies right from year one. You will indeed follow the bioengineering or the chemical and biomolecular engineering curriculum, but at the same time, you'll be substituting some of the courses to pursue the science topic as well as research. So essentially, these will be the few programs. Oh, another premier scholars program, it is called the Renaissance Engineering Program. So that would be a 4.5-year program, because it is combining an engineering degree with a management degree. So, but for the application, for us, we would not be focusing too much on the Renaissance Engineering Program. Now, in terms of the minor and specialization, that's probably not something you will have to worry about at this moment. So you can think of it as for specialization. So while you are studying your single degree program in bioengineering or chemical and biomolecular engineering, if you have a specific interest in a certain field, so for example, if you're interested in pharmaceutical manufacturing, or you are interested in data analytics and machine learning. So these will be some of the specialization options that you can pursue. And all you need to do is that you'll be fulfilling some of these requirements using your BDE option. And you don't have to actually decide at this point. You can decide it along the way when you're in year 3 or year 4. Minor would be something similar, but what is different is minor would typically be something that is not directly related to your major. So for example, if you're interested in communication, okay, the communication is somewhat related, but let's say you're very interested in communication, you can pursue a minor in communication. Or if you're interested in history, you can also pursue a minor in history as well. So minor would be something that is irrelevant or less relevant to your degree program, but specialization would be a part of your degree program. Okay, so I mean, I don't know whether I'm giving you too much information, but at this very moment, one thing that you would have to think about is that when you decide on which program you pursue, you'll be selecting between the single degree program, a second major program, a double degree program, and a premier scholars program. These selections will have to be decided at the point of admission. So you cannot be, say, in year 2, you say, oh, I want to join a second major program. Typically, you cannot do that. So all the second major program, double degree program, and the premier scholars program, you have to decide it at the time of admission. So at this point, you have to make the decision. And once you are in this second major program or the double degree program or this premier scholars program, if you think that this is not something for you, you can still make a change to go back to a single degree program. So you can downgrade, but you cannot upgrade. So this would be the important message you will have to keep in mind at this moment. So what are the different options that you have for the second major programs? So there are two new second major programs. So one is data analytics and the other is the entrepreneurship. So I'm sure that a lot of you would probably think of say, oh, I want to learn more about data analytics because the job market in this field is very good. And if you look at the graduate employment survey, you also see that, oh, a lot of the computer scientists, they are getting very good pay and job seems to be good and seems to be very interesting. So seeing that in the trend, so we do realize a lot of industries, they are moving towards digitalize many of their operations. So analyzing the information that they have would be important. So with that, that's why we are joining with the College of Science to develop this new program on data analytics. And the advantage of this is that for students who are in this data analytics program, you are still in your single degree. So you still will be majoring in an engineering degree. But the data analytics is to help you with the analysis of data that is specific to what you will be doing in the particular fields. What it is different from the computer scientists is that for computer scientists, they are very good in coding, they are very good in programming, but they would not have the necessary engineering knowledge to solve a specific problem. So typically the computer scientists, when they are in the data analytics fields or the machine learning fields, what they will be focusing on will be developing the tools that you can use. But in terms of how to use the tools, it would be the engineers. So this data analytics second major would essentially be fulfilling that type of job scope. Now for entrepreneurship, I'm not sure if you're aware, so Singapore actually is heavily promoting startups. So we have Enterprise Singapore, who would actually promote the development of homegrown companies. So in particular, right now we are heavily dependent on a lot of the foreign investments. But as the pandemic hits, we do see that it's difficult to bring some of the foreign investment in. And eventually in the long run, we wanted to be able to develop successful startup companies to essentially help the economic growth. So how can we do that? So it's not just we give them the startup fund and they would be developed all by themselves. So we need to know what would be the process involved. Particularly for a lot of the startups, it would be involving technologies. But the technology developers usually are not savvy in terms of business development, in terms of the planning of the business. So this entrepreneurship second major program essentially would be fulfilling that particular aspects. So we'll be in collaboration with the Nanyang Technopreneurship Center as well as the Nanyang Business School to help giving you the knowledge that is related to these startups. And the other major programs, these are something that has been around for a number of years. So for business, second major, this is also one of the most popular second majors programs that we have. So we have this in collaboration with the Nanyang Business School. And for pharmaceutical engineering second major, so this is only available for the bioengineering students. So in particular, we see that in the recent years, there are a lot of new developments as well as needs in the development of biologics, the manufacturing of vaccines. So all this essentially would contribute to more manpower that is needed in the pharmaceutical companies. And particularly in Singapore, we are actually home of 8 of the world top 10 pharmaceutical industries. So particularly in the Tuas area, so all the manufacturing plants are housing over there, and a lot of them are pharmaceutical companies. And if we look at the employment statistics, pharmaceutical companies would also be one of the major recruiters or major industries where our graduates will be working in. So in view of that, so we have this pharmaceutical engineering second major that is available for the bioengineering students. The third second major programs that we have would be the food science and technology. So we do see food security to be an important issue, particularly that Singapore has more or less secured the water security. So the next thing in mind we have would be to secure the food security. In order to do that, there will be a multiple aspects. So it can be in terms of food safety, it can be in terms of the preservation or the processing of food. So in view of this, we also would be collaborating with Wageningen University from the Netherlands, and they are the top university in the world in the field of food science and technology. So a lot of the courses will be jointly offered with the Wageningen University, and students in this second major will also have a chance to visit the Wageningen University to do some practical field trips, visiting the food companies that are present in the Netherlands. So I think one thing that would be of interest to you would be what kind of employment statistics, what are the career prospects by the time you graduate. So as these things changes year by year, so what I'm showing you is the employment statistics from last year, and this is actually just published on this past Wednesday. Okay, so for bioengineering students, the top industry sectors where the graduates goes to, so like I mentioned earlier, so the top industry actually will be the pharmaceutical, biological products, and manufacturing. Then the second would be medical and precision instruments, and then followed by healthcare. And then some would be going to the public sector, the public administration and defense, and many of them would also be joining the scientific research and development. And then what kind of job title that your seniors are getting? So the main job title they get would be biomedical engineer, quality control assurance engineer, medical and pathology laboratory technicians. So if you're interested, you can actually type in these keywords in some of the job search websites. So in that sense, you'll be able to at least get a sense of what kind of jobs would they be doing, what kind of job scope, what kind of responsibility. So that would give you a better picture if this is the right program for you. So some of the top employers that we have would be Takeda, Hemo, MSD is a pharma company, Edwards is a life science company, and of course the hospital as well. Okay, so for the employment, for last year, our employment rate is close to 91%. And among those who get their employment, 98% actually get it 3 to 4 months after graduation. And then if you look at the job offers, so 40% of them would receive multiple job offers and about 60% will receive just job offers. The mean salary is 3,654. And we also have some of the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. Now, in terms of the CBE program, the top recruiter would be the electronic products, followed by pharmaceutical and biological product manufacturing. And then we also have graduates who go into the finance and insurance, as well as education. And then some of the job titles that you get would be production engineer, chemical engineer, as well as manufacturing engineer. And similarly, if you're interested in the chemical engineering program, you can type in these job titles in job search engines, and you'll be able to find out more details on the job scopes and responsibilities. So the top employers, so the top 2 electronic products would be Global Foundries and Micron, and pharmaceutical companies would be the Novartis and MSD. Similarly, we have more than 90% employment rate for the CBE graduates. For the mean industry, it's slightly higher than the BRE graduates. So the mean is 3,900. And again, we have a fairly high percentage of students who get the jobs between 3 to 4 months after graduations. So how recognized are we in the program? So if you are just looking at the engineering and technology, NTU is ranked number 4. And in particular for chemical engineering, we are ranked number 6 in the world. There is no ranking for bioengineering, not because we are not good, it's just that bioengineering is still considered a relatively new field. So there isn't any ranking system, particularly for bioengineering. Okay, so now in addition to learning from the classrooms, we also have learning outside of classrooms. So we have academic competitions in terms of synthetic biology, beer brewing, We also have various overseas programs, which you can go to a foreign university or a foreign company to fulfill exchange program or your internship program. So in terms of the academic competitions, I would leave it to Professor Tan Ming Hao to do the sharing at a later time. And we also have various career development programs where we invite industries to do sharings and interacting with the current students. So this will be something you'll get along the way. So once you join us, do keep a lookout of these announcements so that you have a chance to essentially relate the things that you learn to the industry. Again, we also have the learning that is beyond the classroom. So we have a lot of student initiative projects that varies from the data analytics, kimchi making, or the recycling of food waste. Again, I would leave it to Professor Tan Ming Hao to share that at a later time. I wanted to show you a little bit on the curriculums. Don't worry if you are not familiar with many of these terms, but essentially what we wanted to show you is that many of these courses, they are the fundamental courses. So in order to link it to the jobs that you do, it will not be just say, oh, I learned about this topic, I will be able to perform the jobs. So many of these courses that you learn, essentially it will be bits and pieces that you have to link it all together in order to apply the knowledge. And in your year 3, particularly in the second semester, that would be where you will be doing your professional internship in a company. And year 4, you'll have a lot of options where you'll be doing your the prescribed elective as well as your broadening and deepening electives. And for bioengineering, there's one, I would say, a capstone projects, which you'll be putting your hands onto designing and building a medical device, and you'll be testing it and promoting it to potential customers. So this will be something that is quite interesting, which later on, Professor Manojit will be sharing more on this aspect. For chemical engineering, it will be of similar. So first year, you'll be doing some of the foundational courses and also learn it with students from other disciplines. Year 2 and year 3 would be where you learn the fundamental courses. And again, similarly, you will not learn a specific application in oil and gas or in pharmaceutical companies or in electronics. But what you have learned in these courses would essentially be directly applicable when you're doing jobs in those industries. So this is the last slides that I wanted to show you. So I mentioned about minors. There are many, many minors that I won't be able to go through in details, but these are the minors that are available. So each of these minors would have a specific course requirements. So once you have joined the program, then along the your study years, then you can start fulfilling the course requirements in these minor programs, and you can simply apply at the point of graduation. So you don't have to decide it at this moment, but you can decide it at a later time. So I guess I will end it here, and in the Q&A sessions, I'll be able to answer more questions that you have about these programs. And I do hope to see you in the School of Chemistry, Chemical Engineering, and Biotechnology in August this year or in August 2 years later.
Thank you so much, Prof. Raymond, for the sharing. So we will now move on to the sharing by Professor Tan Ming Hao. So he will be sharing more on the student life and what you can expect from being a CCEB student in our school. So Prof. Tan, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So good to see many of you. So first of all, let me share my screen first. Okay, so basically, just wanted to give all of you an overview of what is life like outside of your coursework and your homework and exams. So what are some of the things that you can participate in to enrich your life? So this is just a broad flow of what I'm going to cover. So briefly, what are the different student clubs and student-initiated interest groups that are ongoing in our school? And then I will talk a bit about what are some of the team competitions that we have that our students have been participating in. And then also talking a bit about our connections or visits to the industry. And then I'll also talk a bit about what kind of academic supports that we have here in CCEB. And then ending off with showing you what our students are up to in the student lounge. Okay, so what are some of the clubs that we have? Well, in every school in NTU, there is a school club. So of course, we have our own CCEB club. Well, currently it's called the SCBE club, but it's going to be renamed as CCEB. So this is basically a club that is for students, and it serves as a very important channel between faculty and students. So for example, I am constantly in contact with the committee of the club, and then constantly exchanging ideas or talking about what activities we can plan ahead. So this committee is basically voted in by students themselves, and there's a whole range of activities ranging from before COVID, I think we had sports day, but for the time being that one is on hold. But then there are other activities. For example, every year we will have, or every semester we will have our exam welfare, and then there are ad hoc competitions like the trivial hunts, photographic hunt, treasure hunts, so on and so forth. So I think the CCEB club is very active, and constantly I can see that they are always coming up with new ideas and new events. So then we also have overseas community involvement program. So before COVID, they have been going to regional countries to carry out projects to help the local communities. For example, going to schools to provide lessons to the children there, or to help improve the infrastructure in those poorer rural countries. But then of course in COVID we can't really travel, so the batch of students, last December they did some community service work with local organizations, for example, holding workshops to teach life skills to disadvantaged children. So we also have our students plans the freshman orientations, and we call it the New Bay. So this is to help welcome freshmen, new students coming in, and allow them to interact with their seniors in the school, and also to bond with their fellow cohorts in all sorts of activities over 4 days or so of program. And then in this coming August 22, we are going to implement something very new, and we are actually going to implement a house system. So this is partly also because we are CCEB is a school that's going to be jointly managed by the College of Engineering and the College of Science. And the College of Science, in the College of Science, those schools have house systems where the students are separated into, well, as the name suggests, different houses where they perform activities and score points and so on and so forth. And so this is something that's will be happening in the next academic year. And I think this is something that's potentially will be very exciting for students as well. So then we also very actively encourage students to come up with their own interest groups. So some of the interest groups include things like ANATAR, which is short for analytics and data. So we are aware that there are some students who are very into computing and programming, and so we have this interest groups where they organize workshops on all elements of computing, like machine learning, data visualization, Python programming, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's you can interested students can benefit from the ongoing push in data science. And we also have a pretty well-equipped makerspace with several state-of-the-art 3D printers where students can basically go in and print anything that you want. So you can print a toy car if you want. So last semester I had some students print a device for performing diagnostic assays for COVID, for example. So this is something that's any group of students can come up with ideas, something that they want to prototype, and then they go in and they can print it. And of course, the makerspace students themselves also hold all sorts of workshops to teach useful skills like how to use Arduino and so on. And another student activity that is very popular in our school is this Zymergy Guilds, which is basically a fermentation club where students can go into the pantry and brew pretty much anything that they want. So beer is obviously the top choice here. But then I also understand that some of them have been experimenting with different flavors of kombucha, and some have been making kimchi. I heard that it's very tasty. And we also have in our school several mid-sized bioreactors where if the students want to, they can actually try to scale up their so-called production and then see whether they can make potentially a lot of beer for sale, for example. So this is some some pictures of our students doing the activity, and you can see that you can design your own beer labels as well and then paste them on glass bottles as though it's your own product. And then another student-led activity is our food waste conversion project. So this is where a bunch of students are very conscious of the amount of food waste that there are around on campus. And then one thing that's they realize is that there's this insect called the black soldier flies. When they are in the larvae form, they are very hungry insects. So then they can basically eat a tremendous amount of food waste, pretty much several folds their weight. So then we actually, built a tent, as you can see here, and put it on the balcony, and where we keep lots of all this larvae, and every semester we'll be collecting tons of food waste from around campus, as you can see here, and then feeding them to the larvae. So this is something that's I personally think is very interesting because we are moving into a decade where people are very environmentally conscious, and we are talking a lot about sustainability and so on. And so I think this is an activity that some students are very interested in. So in essence, basically the point that I want to make is that we welcome students to come up with your own ideas, and if it makes sense or if it sounds exciting, and we will basically provide some seed funds for it. So for example, for the black soldier flies, one of the things that the students are starting out to do is, instead of just using larvae that they buy from some commercial source, we are actually setting up to actually genetically engineer those black soldier flies so that we can make them to become super larvae, that they become extra hungry and they can eat a lot more food. So this is something that I'm quite interested to see what's going to happen out of it. And then another activity that's one of the fresh men came in and said that she is able to convert spent cooking oil into soap. And so then we thought, why not? We can try that as well. And then so we gave the students and her friends some money so that they can do their own soap making activity. And then early on, I mentioned about makerspace, where it's 3D printing. You can print any device that you want. And then some students suggested to me, well, if there's a makerspace, why don't we have a biomakerspace? And that kind of makes sense because actually several of the top research universities like MIT and so on, they actually do have a biomakerspace where students can go in and engineer any living organisms that they want. And that's basically what we are in the process of setting up as well. And we are building basically creating some lab space where students, if they wish, they can go in and engineer their favorite, for example, microorganism to produce, whatever valuable protein or valuable chemical that they want. And then, if it works out, you can even think about, spinning off and commercializing, and it can be your own little startup after you graduate. Okay, so beyond the more sciencey type of activities, and then recently I also had a student coming to me to say that he is very active in the community, and he's very interested in doing volunteer work and so on. And so I thought that was a great idea, and so we are actually in the process of trying to figure out whether we can start some kind of a more active community involvement program. So for the time being, we call it like SCBE Cares or CCEB Cares. So this is kind of in line with the national imperative of SG Cares, right? So everywhere you go, you see West Coast Cares or East Coast Cares. So we have a CCEB Cares as well. And then so now we are kind of in discussion, for example, with the Choa Chu Kang Town Council to see how we can contribute to the local community. And then we are also trying to engage different charity organizations to see how we can be involved as well. So this is something that's in the works, and hopefully it will take off not long after. Okay, so these are some of the activities that we have in our school, and then our students are also involved in different competitions, and then one of them, which has been running for several years now, is the Chemi car competition. Okay, so this Chemi car competition, I believe, was first started many years ago by the AICHE, which is the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, where in this competition the students have to design and construct a vehicle that is basically powered by a chemical energy source. Okay, and then this vehicle has to transport a specific load, a defined load over a defined distance, and then upon reaching the destination, the vehicle has to stop. Okay, so then I think this is an activity that's, our students have quite a bit of fun in over the past few years, and have also shown quite a lot of creativity in, building, as you can see here, all sorts of crazy vehicles that's, can transport all sorts of cargo over a distance. And we actually have industry sponsorship for this. For example, for Micron, which is actually one of the big employers of our graduates as well. And another activity that we have every year and is also very popular among our students is this beer brewing competitions, where different students come together and try to concoct their own special formulations, of their favorite alcoholic beverage. Okay, so this is where I think the students have a lot of fun trying to test out different flavors, for example. And we actually have industry interest for this activity as well. So the prizes that we have are often sponsored by breweries, for example, or by tap houses or from local pubs and so on. And some of them are also very keen to serve as the judge for the competition, because I was talking to one of them, that he says that he's happy to serve as a judge because then he can find out whether there's any good beer that he can sell in his pub. So I think this is a great activity for students as well. Okay, and then so another activity that we have ongoing every year is the hang on, my computer is hanging. Is it going to move? Oh, no, overshots. Sorry, this file is incredibly big. Okay, so another competition that we have our students participate in is the Igems synthetic biology competition. So this is a competition that's it first spun out of MIT and Stanford at around 2004, and it has grown to become a very massive international competition where over 300 research universities from around the world will gather in Boston around November every year to showcase a synthetic biology project that the undergrad students have been working on. And so we have been actively participating in this competition since 2015. And here you can see I've been bringing different groups of students to Boston. And of course, well, we actually do fly the students there before COVID, but then, in COVID, we have to do everything virtual. And then so the students will spend about 9 months or so, trying to engineer, their favorite, living organism to do something useful. So for example, in 1 year, we have students engineering Shigella bacteria to produce more electricity in the microbial fuel cell. And then we also have students creating new CRISPR editing tools for better mammalian cell engineering. And we actually do file patents from the students' research as well. So the students not only graduates, with a CV that says they have participated in some, very nice research competition, where we usually gets prizes for them, but they also gets to list some, patents, on their CV as well, which I think is very good for them when they look for jobs in the market. Okay, so I'm getting text messages that I am running out of time. Okay, so let me quickly move on, and then talking about what we have been doing with the industry. So our school, we are very mindful that our graduates needs to find jobs after graduation. So we keep very close tabs on what's happening in the industry, and we follow very closely the planning done by the government as well. So many of you are probably aware of all these industry transformation maps that have been announced by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. So here they have come up with, I believe, 23 different industry transformation maps for all sorts of sectors, including energy and chemicals, healthcare, food manufacturing, so on and so forth. And many of them are very relevant to our graduates, for example, food manufacturing and so on. And as you can see from the reports from EDB, all these energy and chemicals, pharma and medtech industries are actively growing and churning out a lot of revenue, and they are still expanding very rapidly as well. And then the next few slides basically are just some examples of some of the big giants in their respective field planting their presence locally in Singapore, such as for example, the Total is a very big French energy giant founded, I believe, in the 1920s, and they set up their regional headquarters in Singapore, and then their lubricants blending plants in Tuas is basically the largest and the most modern in the world. And then here are just some other examples that you can look at. And then basically the bottom line is, there are a lot of opportunities from the industry for our graduates. So these examples here seem to be more focused on petrochemicals, but even in the healthcare sector, for example, if you have been reading the news, my PowerPoint is hanging again. Hello. Okay. All right. So then, for example, I'm sure we are all very aware of now is the COVID pandemic, and then BioNTech has announced that they are going to set up manufacturing plants in Singapore, which will be fully operational in 8 months' time. And Moderna is setting up a subsidiary in Singapore as well, and they are going to be actively hiring this year. So then, our graduates will stand a chance to move to apply for all these jobs as well. And there are also a lot of startups coming up in Singapore. For example, from NTU, we have the Silver Factory that's making the breath analyzer for COVID tests. They are also actively hiring. Then we have, of course, the GSK has always been a huge supporter of Singapore and has hired quite a number of our graduates. And Singapore has recently pushed very hard into the food space. So not only do we have new food research institutes, we also have many food startups having their presence in Singapore. For example, Show Meats, Perfect Day, and so on. So we actively try to create opportunities for our students to visit the industry, visit companies. We invite our alumni back to share their experiences, their work experiences, and so on. So recently, last month I just brought a group of students to visit Insecta, as you can see there, so that they can see how the flies are being kept, and how the Insecta, the company, is making use of this larvae to produce animal feed and fertilizers. Okay, so then beyond activities, we have in place a very active support system for our students. So in our school, we have a pastoral care manager who looks after the welfare of the students. So if you have any issues, you can go to him for help. And then we also have a peer tutoring scheme where weaker students can, get extra help from seniors who are performing very well know a particular topic very well and can help to teach and guide the weaker students along. And then, so this is something that I also find is very popular among students, the peer tutoring program. And then we actively now try to reach out to students and listen to what the students need. So for example, I have been holding quite a lot of coffee chats with students. I've been drinking a lot of coffee and hearing what are some of the problems that students are facing, and then hearing it's good for faculty to hear what are some of the problems and issues that students are facing. So for example, one of the feedback that I got was that there's not enough places in our school for students to do homework and study. So that immediately we sprang into action. We look for space in the school. And basically here you can see that we basically just constructed a bunch of cubicles, which will soon be released to the student community for them to study and do their homework. So we faculty do value students' feedback in CCEB. Okay, so finally, just wanted to leave you with our very nice student lounge, which is very well equipped with all sorts of recreational activities, and we frequently stock it up with all sorts of snacks and so on. And we have games and so on where you can relax with your friends. And at the student lounge, we also have sessions where students and professors can intermingle, so that we are more tight-knit as a community. So I think that's all we have. We look forward to having you join us in our CCEB family. So you can check us out on all the different social media. So please follow us, and because we actively post what's going on in our school. I think that's all I have. Yes, that's all I have. Yeah, right. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Prof. Tam, for sharing. So together with us today, we also have Professor Manozit, and he'll be sharing on the research opportunity and also industry partnership in our school. So if you are interested and would like to find out more, you can join the sharing session by Professor Manozit in the breakout room later. So next, we will now share a short video with you for you to find out more on the NTU CCEB experiences. So in this video, you can also explore one of the research project offered to our BIE student, which is the medical device design.
So in today's world, knowledge is very common. You can do a Google search and find a lot of information. So it's not about the content we teach them, it's about how to learn new things. And once you know how to learn new things, you can always adapt yourself to gain new knowledges or new areas. So in our school in biomedical engineering, we have different research directions, from imaging to biomaterials to biodevices, and the labs we have designed for the students that expose them to many different areas. So for example, in medical device design, they are exposed to medical devices. There are biomaterials related labs, there are anatomy and physiology related labs. So all these labs help them to understand many different areas, and depending on the students' need and students' interest, they can later on choose what kind of areas they're going to work on.
So in this project, it's called Medical Device Design Project, we have a group of 10 members, which comprises of hardware team, software team, and as well as design team.
Through this module, we have learned to design a uroflowmetry device to record the uroflowmetry data for patients with LUTS, also known as lower urinary tract symptoms.
We actually have to design a ECG circuit. This is a device which you commonly see in the hospital. And for this case, we actually have to analyze the circuit and as well as troubleshoot it and come up with a new and innovative design. And I believe these skills are actually transferable into the 21st century workforce.
In the medical device design module, I have developed a mobile application to allow users to track their urinary behavior throughout the day. As such, this module has ultimately provided me with more opportunities in my future career in the bioengineering industry.
So my team came up with this design after many rounds of prototyping, and after that we 3D printed this and we fitted it onto different toilet bowls. The idea of this design is that it covers 2/3 of the toilet bowl and leaving 1/3 space at the back for defecation. So we have these hooks that allows us to install the device into the toilet bowl, and then we can secure it with the toilet seat. The patient has to just void normally or naturally into the toilet, and then the data will be collected using the flow meter below. So the void volume and the void flow rate will be collected, and afterwards these data will be sent to the doctors, where the doctors will use the data to diagnose if the patient have any lower urinary tract diseases.
Such module exposes us to real-life problems and encourages us to actively contribute back to our society. Thus, any success brings a lot of sense of accomplishment, as it could be a crucial step towards a new discovery in this industry.
So I hope you all have enjoyed the video. So if you'd like to find out more video of our school, you can scan the QR code on the top right of the slide and then join our YouTube channel. So now let me introduce Maya. So he's a Year 4 BIE student and will be sharing on his student life in our school. Maya, please.
Okay, hi everybody. Hope you can hear me well. And hope you guys are enjoying this early Saturday morning. So as mentioned, I will be sharing the students' perspective of life in NTU and as I know it SCB and as how you would know it CCEB in the future. So just to begin, I'm a Year 4 Bioengineering student who graduated from NUSI in 2017. And I was a group leader for 9am 2019. 9am is also the freshman orientation camp that we have for freshmen in SCBE. I was also the SCB Club Social Director in Year 1 and Year 2. And currently I'm also the NTU Model United Nations, or NTU MUN for short. So NTU MUN's Secretary General this year. I also did 2 exchanges during my time here in NTU. One was at the Zagreb School of Economics and Management and the other at NUS. And lastly, I did my professional internship at Antaksing Hospital. So I'll share more about all of this. So this is to start off, this is actually 9am when I was back in Year 1. So fresh into college, and this is a bunch of us at Sentosa. So obviously this is pre-COVID, times were very different back then. This is another picture of us in between North Spine and South Spine. And this is at the NIE fields. So I think during 9am, honestly, it's a very refreshing experience, where you're coming all from different backgrounds to study the same thing for 4 years in the same college. And over here, you get to make friends, not just from a social perspective, but also as peers who you could fall on to and depend on when you need help with assignments or find group mates. This is another picture of us actually, the entire cohort in Year 1 when we were at Sentosa. And this is a picture of us when I was actually in Year 2 as the group leader. So this is when we were trying to give the same great experience that our seniors gave to the new freshmen when I was again in Year 2 as a group leader. Now, I also was the social director, not just for the first year, but for both Year 1 and Year 2. And as part of my duties, I initiated some new events as well, such as night cycling, game night, cocktail workshop, and trivia night. So as you can see, even though this is just one portfolio within SCB Club, we actually initiated quite a variety of events catering to different kinds of interests, whether it be sports, academics, or social activities. So this is actually a picture of us with the committee back in Year 1, when I was in Year 1. And there's just more pictures of us actually preparing games for SCB Day. And with pre-COVID, SCB Day used to kind of be in a small form of carnival that we had. So we had games, food booths, lucky draw, sales and everything. So it was a mini carnival that we had within our faculty. And so this is just some of the games that we had created for the students. There's another picture of me and another member of the committee where we were trying to create this shirt for a game called Sticky Balls, inspired by the Jimmy Fallon show. So this is just one of the prototypes that we are trying out. And this is a picture of the picture I took at the end of the cocktail workshop. So at this point, COVID had begun. So this workshop was conducted online by me actually, since I was a bartender. So I was just trying to share some knowledge into mixology. There's also another picture of us just having a bonding session between the committee, and another picture of the main comm when I was in Year 2, just during the photo shoot. So I also did an exchange at the Zagreb School of Economics and Management, which is located in Croatia. So this is a summer exchange in between my Year 1 and Year 2. And I did 2 modules over there, design thinking and Croatian studies. So I think one of the interesting things about exchange is that you're not graded based on, like, you're not letter graded. So you don't have a GPA attached to your modules. You just have to simply pass the modules, and they won't impact your GPA. So it changes the learning dynamics quite significantly because you're in a new system with new professors and new peers as well. So instead of focusing on each and every mark to try and get the best possible grade, you are now over here and just enjoying the modules from a pure learning perspective. And truly, I think these 2 modules were quite an interesting way that they were taught in a European system rather than our Asian system. And obviously, when you're on a summer exchange, you have quite a lot of fun. And the summer exchange that I went to was quite special because it was a established program by the school. So there were a lot of different students around the globe that came. So this is a picture of us when we graduated of sorts at the end of the 3-week program. So you can see there is us Singaporeans as well as a bunch of Mexicans and even a Moroccan. This is a picture of us Singaporeans who I was living with, just exploring the city center. And another picture of us where we went out after school. And you can see again, this is a picture with Singaporeans, French, Mexicans, Australians. So it is really a proper cultural exchange between all the different countries that we had over there. And this last picture was us, 4 of us from Singapore, actually exploring the different islands, because we went island hopping quite a few times actually in Croatia. And fun fact, the glasses over here, they did not last because this is actually a military boat, which is super fast. So when my friend over here turned around, her glasses just flew. So I think it was overall a very interesting experience that I would definitely suggest every student to go to, like at least to one exchange. I also did a partial exchange in NUS, where I took some modules in NUS currently while doing modules in NTU. And I did this actually last semester, where I took 3 modules there: Singapore Society, Quantitative Physiology Principles in Bioengineering, and Engineering Biology. So same as all other exchanges, these 3 modules are also on a pass-fail basis. And 2 of these modules are under the Biomedical Engineering department in NUS itself. So it is quite an interesting way to understand all the differences in the teaching styles that there are between NUS and NTU. So it was nice to learn these modules that are slightly different from what we have in NTU, yet I would say equally interesting and enjoyable to learn. Lastly, I did my internship at Tan Tock Seng Hospital, and actually I did it under the Management Internship Program, or MIP for short. So obviously this is quite different from bioengineering. In fact, like I think there was almost 0 overlap, I would say, between my internship and what I learned in my degree in bioengineering. And I was part of the operations medicine department, and these are some of the tasks I had to do. And I think number 2, COVID-19 vaccination clinic was probably the most fulfilling one that I had, where as part of the operations team, we had to set up the clinic from scratch in just 2 weeks, which is a very short time to get everything prepared. And for myself, I was in charge of the front-end operations with my supervisor and her supervisor. So I was suddenly exposed to a really big project within Tan Tock Seng and having a major role, because both my supervisor and supervisor's supervisor have other roles to fulfill as well, other projects to take care of. So this was like my main project. And I was constantly interacting with nurses, patients, patient services assistants, doctors, the management staff, the IT staff. So I had all these contacts in my phone, and constantly if there's any issue or anything that needs to be shared, anything really, it could be the smallest things like, the gap between the chairs isn't 1 meter, you need to resettle that, to things like, the COVID-19 vaccines aren't here, somebody has to get them. So all of these are part of my tasks as well. So these are just some pictures. I could not take many pictures during my internship since I was most of the time handling front-end operations, which involved a lot of patient interaction. So due to PDP, I couldn't take many pictures. And other than that, I was handling confidential data. So not many pictures that I have to share, just a few. So this is one of my, the office building called the Annex 1. This is a picture of one of the PSAs, patient service assistants, sharing out about health with other patients. And this is a picture of us interns on our last day, actually giving back our access cards. Now, I think just to sum up my presentation, this is actually a picture of my team during the beer brewing competition where we won third. And this was actually just this January, so a month ago. And another picture of us also as a faculty coming in third in the inter-school games between all other faculties for Captain's Ball, where we also won third. So, and this was also in January itself. So I think COVID had disrupted quite a bit of the student life the last 1 to 2 years. Obviously, I think the school and the student bodies did a great job to transition them online, and that was also quite a unique experience. But now we are slowly going back to normal. So to have these two events was kind of like a nice way to cap off my 4 years in NTU, where slowly things are coming back to normal. And I genuinely hope that as students come in the next semester, in the next academic year, I truly hope that everything starts to come back to normal, and hopefully most of the pictures can be applicable to your experiences as well. And with that, I've come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayok, for that inspiring sharing. I hope you guys are also inspired as he to like join a lot of activities that's offered in our school. So right now, that's the end of all the sharing for now, but we'll now jump into the breakout rooms, which all of you are anticipating to ask your burning questions. So first up, we have our class of 2021 alumni groups, both BIE and CBE. So first we have Jiming Ki from CBE. Jiming is the valedictorian of class of 2021, and right now he is working as a management associate at Tan Tock Seng Hospital, and Ki is working as a supply chain specialist at the Sherwin-Williams Singapore. And from BIE, we have Cheng Yi and Tekla. Cheng Yi is working as a research assistant in the National Skin Center, while Tekla is working as a product process engineer at Edward Life Sciences. So you guys can ask your question on how what we learn will be applicable in the working life. Okay, the next room we have our bioengineering student ambassadors. First, we have Ivan, who is year 2, Hui Shi and Melissa, who is in year 3. Okay, next we have our student ambassadors for the chemical and biomolecular engineering. Yeah. So for year 1s, we have Rachel, Yuhan, Daniel, and Jason. And for year 4, we have Chester. Okay, for our student ambassadors for the second major program, we have Gavin, who is the second major in business, Wen-Qi, who also has a second major in business, and Chun Ting, who has a second major in food science and technology. Okay, last but not least, we have our student ambassadors for the international and scholarship program. First up, we have Navita, who taken the international A-level, Karina, who taken the Indonesian national curriculum, and Manyak, who is has the NTU college scholarship. So right now we have Singyi to tell you guys all about joining the breakout rooms.
Thank you, Nicole. Up next, we will be proceeding to Q&A session in the respective breakout rooms. We have a total of 8 breakout rooms, namely Professor Room with Professor Raymond Lau, Professor Tan Meng Hao, and Professor Manajit, respectively. We are also very honored to have our alumni back with us today for this Q&A breakout room session. So please approach them to ask how the transition is like from CCEB to working life. We also have breakout rooms for Bioengineering BIE, Chemical Biomolecular Engineering CBE, second majors, and international and scholarship breakout rooms. When the breakout rooms is open after this presentation, you can view the breakout rooms icon located at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. Kindly click on the room you would like to join, so feel free to jump around with the various breakout rooms to clarify your doubts. If you have any trouble joining any of the breakout rooms, please inform us by commenting under the Zoom chat function, and we will allocate you to the respective field that you are interested in. Before we open the breakout rooms, feel free to visit us in the open house virtual world, which happens now all the way until 6 p.m. today, and continue chatting with our student ambassador so you have any more queries after this session. Also, join us at our upcoming physical tour on 26th and 7 February. The sign-up form is located under our Linktree website, and this QR code will be shown on the top right-hand corner of the presenter slide in the respective breakout rooms. There are limited slots for the physical tour, so do sign up fast. Download our e-brochure using a QR code as well, as providing us with your feedback on this sharing session using the QR code shown on the right after this session ends. Okay, I'll leave it here for a few seconds. All right. So, connect with us, student ambassadors, after this session by signing up for the forms located on this QR code as well. Okay, without further ado, we will start opening the breakout rooms. Thank you. Hi, Celeste, Patrick, and SSLIM. Do you guys have trouble joining the breakout rooms?
Okay, everyone's in the breakout room, right?
No, except Patrick. Do you have some trouble joining the breakout rooms, or is there any breakout session that you would like to join? Okay, I think he's left.
We can DM him.
You can go engage with this newcomer.